So today I have a '07 Displacement On Demand vehicle. This customer brought it to the local dealership, and the dealership, they were concerned for the engine light and a misfire. And the dealership said, yes, you have a misfire. Let's do a tune-up and plugs wires. They did that, charged them $470 or something like that. I don't know. It was close to $500. They did not fix the concern. It did not take care of the misfire. And as far as I'm concerned, whoever told them the tune-up was a good idea before going any further was a complete idiot. They should not have been working on this vehicle. The reason I say that is because it's pretty darn obvious what's going on with this vehicle. And I'm going to fire it up for you quick and show you why I say that. Now listen, you hear that ticking. So that ticking is the lifter. Now these Displacement On Demand vehicles, they have two types of lifters. One is really long, and it's got this crazy spring on it, and the other one is just a standard looking lifter. The ones that are crazy looking, the design purpose for those is to shut off the cylinders so that it can, this motor can go from V8 to 4-cylinder, and it was the dumbest design. It's completely stupid. You remove that system on these vehicles, you gain 2 miles to the gallon. It makes no sense that GM did it. It was an emissions thing, I get that, but when it decreases fuel economy, it's not going to help your emissions. It's a really poorly designed system. But anyway, so that tick is because there is a collapsed lifter. I think that the customer said it was cylinder number 7. I'm not concerned about it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull both valve covers right away, and we'll get on with this, tearing it down. I'm going to pull the intake, the valve covers, the valley cover, all off, and I got a little trick up my sleeve that can usually free up those stuck lifters. And then we're going to do a update in the software of the computer and turn off the Displacement On Demand. And by doing so, the lifter will never collapse again, because the Displacement On Demand will never command it to collapse again. And so that's what we're going to make an attempt at doing, so we don't have to pull the cylinder heads. If I can free that lifter, I'm going to save this guy a lot of money and a lot of trouble. Each one of those lifters at the current cost of lifters today is approximately $55 for those fancy lifters. The cheapest, pretty much the cheapest you can get them for. And that's pretty crappy, because a shop like me or any other shop, we have to sell them for, at bare minimum, like 70 to upwards of 150 depending on the shop, so that we can cover our expenses as a shop. And when you have 8 of those things in a motor, you can imagine how much that adds up. I mean, that bill is going to get pretty ridiculous. It could be upwards of $1,000 easily at some shops. Because if you replace just one, when you have to lift the cylinder head to replace them, that'd be completely foolish. Sure, you can maybe do one bank, so you only do 4 of them instead of 8, but still, that's going to cost the customer a lot of money, and they're not going to like that. And before I continue here, if you end up liking this video, please like, share, subscribe. I'm going to get that out there right away before I get this thing tore down. So let's get started on ripping and tearing and see what we can find. Start off pulling all the plastic. These spark plug bellows, or whatever you want to call them, they normally have a tin heat shield on here. The guy who did the tune-up apparently didn't transfer those, so these plugs are probably going to wear out prematurely from the heat of the manifold. Valve cover. Kind of a dirty motor. See the crud in there. Okay, so I got a jumper here. I'm going to go to the starter relay, and I'm going to jump the starter relay to check the valve train on this side. So most likely the problem's on the other side. All these are moving approximately the same amount. So I'm going to go ahead and zip the other side apart and see what it looks like. I'm going to take a brass hammer here and tap on the slots happen to be in the upward position, so these will be easy to push in. If you kind of like almost compress the slot and push back, these are the parts that squeeze the alternator tight to the bracket. So I'm going to go ahead and move those. Now, because I slid those forward, when I go to put the alternator back in, it'll just fall into place. I tighten the bolts, it'll be a lot easier. There it is, right there. So we got cylinder 6 intake valve. Okay, so I moved the camera quick just so I could show you a little bit better look at that rocker. You can see this one here is way loose. So that's because that lifter has actually collapsed. This intake valve is not properly opening. Now I'm going to get a little crazy here with the swivel action. So one joint and a swivel and the impact. Sometimes this works the whole way, other times I have to hand loosen them and then can use this. We'll see how tight they are. So disconnecting these sensors. Now the oil pressure sensor, right here there is a filter under here that plugs often, so I'm going to be cleaning that. And normally I would recommend replacing the sensor while I'm here, but I have a different solution, especially considering this guy is less likely to spend money. Now these are aftermarket gaskets, so somebody did do the gasket like I thought. These are a Felpro all-metal design gasket, which is nice. Those are the spendy ones. I'm actually going to go ahead and just reuse them because I see the raised spot of the rubber is in good shape yet. So I'm just going to pull them out of the way, and then I'll clean them up before I put them on and reuse them. Now, it's unfortunate, but I don't think I have my tool anymore, so I'm going to have to make one. What I need to do is, yep, that one right there. I need to go into this hole with a special tool that I make, and I got to, believe it or not, hit it with a hammer. And what that'll hopefully do is relieve this thing so it actually releases again. And it should make a weird click when it does it. I've had success with this on the aluminum blocks in the past, so hopefully it'll work on the iron block too. So I can't believe it, I actually found my special tool. It's basically all it is. It's just a push rod. It's actually a push rod from one of these motors. Occasionally these push rods will get like a worn out kind of funny shape on one end of it, and you end up replacing them. So this is one of those that this end was probably messed up, but regardless. All I did is I sand this down because that hole is drilled just barely shy of the 5/16 push rod size, and so I sanded the push rod down, and then on this end I took and I created a kind of a convex, or I mean concave shape on the tip that is at the approximate angle as the lifter itself. And so I put it down in the hole, and then I tap on the top of this with a hammer. So I can feel, by doing this, I can feel it go up and down and up and down. That's because it's contouring to that lifter just right on the side of it. And now I have this just resting on here. I'm in hopes that you guys can see it. I'm hoping that when I tap it, it'll have enough spring pressure when it releases that it'll pop this and knock it over. Oops, son of a... And you'll actually be able to see that. Oh, let's hopefully not drop that in too hard of a place when it finally lets go. But I'll set it down here to move that rocker, and then we'll hit that with a hammer. Now I'm gonna start light and hit harder till I'm uncomfortable if it doesn't release. Well, it didn't release yet, but the shock bumped that thing off of there. Try it again. Still didn't release. The hell with that. That's too much trouble. Oh, I think I just heard it. Of course, now that's stuck. Yeah, it's locked. That's all it took. Now I just gotta get a pliers to pull that out. Look at this. It's nice and tight. The vehicle will run like it should again. The only drawback now is if a guy were to put this back together, fire it up, and take it down the highway, the moment it goes back into 4-cylinder mode, there's a very good chance that that thing will have a problem. That's why I have to disable the 4-cylinder mode. So I'm going to get a hold of the guy who has the software and programmer to do it, and let him know to come over here when he gets a chance. And I'll have him eliminate displacement on demand in order to solve this concern and increase this guy's fuel economy. He'll be tickled pink to find out I did it this way rather than pulling the cylinder heads, because the dealership was obviously going to pull the cylinder heads, and that's not the optimal option. It's just not. So I'll go ahead and get this all put back together, and we'll fire it up. It'll run great. I'll probably leave the displacement on demand plug unplugged just so I can pull it out and keep it from having the problem. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get it done. Well, you can see I'm looking over at these parts here. What I'm going to do before I even put this on is I'm going to take this hose off, and then I'm going to remove this plastic. Now the reason I'm removing that plastic is because it's in the way for being able to get at the oil pressure sensor and that displacement on demand thing. And it really doesn't do you any good being in there. I mean, to be honest, I don't think it actually serves a realistic purpose. It might, it's got a little foam there. Maybe it's a attempt at sound deadening for for engine noise, you know, intake noise. That's nice, don't even have to take the clamp off. But other than that, I really see absolutely no reason for it. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove it, because by having it removed, it makes a lot of the stuff in the back much easier to access. So before I throw the intake on, I might as well throw these valve covers on. I just slid the gaskets into place. So I'll go ahead and set these in there. Okay, remember I tapped on these tangs earlier? This is why I do that. The alternator falls in place now. So it'll be really easy for me to take these bolts, line it up, push them in, line it up, push it in. So I had my my guy come over and do the tuner's box on this thing. He programmed out the displacement on demand, and now I'm able to fire the thing up, and it should run perfectly fine. Should be no problems at this point. I saved this guy a pile of money. In doing so, I'm able to make myself some money because I don't have to penny pinch every little bit of what I just did in order to get the job. You know what I mean? So I'm able to achieve getting this job and save the guy money, so the customer's happy, I'm happy. I'm able to keep from giving the job to any other business without undercutting myself, and everybody will be happy, and it's going to be a good job. So I'll fire this thing up just so you can hear for yourself that it runs good. So you can hear it's nice and smooth, it doesn't rattle like it did before. Revs nice and smooth. Engine light is still present, but I have not cleared the codes. All we did was turn off the displacement on demand. So I'm going to go ahead and clear the codes and take care of that. If you like this video, please make sure to hit the like button, share it, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you on the next video.